Greetings and welcome to In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk, brought to you by Alphen Insurance Agency, the home of Policy Plus. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Just a reminder, June is Dairy Month. Do all you can do to support the dairy farmers of America. June is also Softball Month, High School Softball Month. We'd like to give a shout out to the North Duplin High School Lady Rebels who are playing in the state championship this weekend in the 1A division up in Raleigh at NC State University. Also, a shout out to the Midway High School Lady Raiders who are playing over in Durham at Duke University in the 2A state championship. Looking forward to some exciting games this weekend, and hopefully both teams can bring home the trophy to Eastern North Carolina. Let's jump into the markets and see what things are doing at close on Friday afternoon. Not too much excitement in the commodity markets this week. A little rebound for most crops. July corn finished the week at 609 even, while December corn finished out the week at 541 and a quarter. July wheat finished the week up a little at 619 even. September wheat finished the week at 632 and a quarter. July cotton finished the week up a little bit at 86.05, while December cotton finished the week at 81.85. July soybeans rebounded and finished the week at 1352 and a half, and November soybeans finished the week at 1183 and three quarters. Remember, when you insure with Alphen Insurance Agency, you get Policy Plus, a whole lot more. We don't just insure your crops, we try to help you in every aspect of your operation. Give us a call if we can give you a hand getting through this acres report time of the year. When we look at the USDA North Carolina weekly production cost report this week, looks like all fertilizers and nitrogen stayed even this week, no change in price. When we look at fuels, looks like we had a 5-cent decrease in farm diesel and a 3-cent decrease in propane for the week. When we look at the crop update in North Carolina, looks like 99% of the corn's in the ground with 95% emerged. When we look at corn condition, 0% very poor, 2% poor, 21% fair, 67% good, 10% excellent. When we look at soybeans, looks like we've got 62% in the ground with 45% emerged. When we look at cotton, looks like 66% of the cotton is in the ground, 0% of cotton squaring. When we look at cotton condition by percent, we start with fair with 27%, 71% good, and 2% excellent. When we look at peanuts planted, 76% of the peanut crop is in the ground in North Carolina, with 77% being emerged. All of the winter wheat is headed, and when we look at it by condition, 1% poor, 9% fair, 74% good, and 16% excellent, and our pasture conditions are remaining about the same, with most of them in fair and good condition. When we look at the local weather here in the Carolinas, looks like we're still in the drought just a little bit in our area, but last weekend did us good. I'm hearing reports from about 8/10 to a little over 3 inches in most of our service area here. But one thing that's rather unique, if you look at the chart here on the screen, is the temperature anomaly for this year. Looks like this weekend is going to be the first degree day of 90 degrees plus that we've had all year. If we even get that, if it stays cloudy, I don't know if we'll reach that or not. But what the chart is showing here is that we're from 4 to 8 degrees lower than normal, which is having an effect on some of our crops, but some of our crops are loving these conditions. But we're very thankful for the rain that we received last weekend. When you look at the U.S. Drought Monitor, you can see just a few portions of North Carolina that are still in slight drought here. And when we look at the crop progress across the U.S., we'll start with corn. By May 28, producers had planted 92% of the nation's crop, and that's 8 points ahead of last year. When we look at soybeans, 83% of the nation's crop have been planted by the 28th of May. That's 19 points ahead of last year. Winter wheat, 72% of the nation's crop was headed about 1 point above last year. Cotton, 60% of the crop was planted by May 28, and that's 6 points behind the previous year and lagging a couple points behind previous years. When we look at peanuts nationally, 72% of the crop is in the ground, and that's 5 points behind last year. When we look at our commodity updates for the week, we'll start with corn. During the week ending May 23rd, funds bought 37,590 contracts. Old crop corn was fractionally higher for the week. Prices finished well above the worst levels of the week. New crop was also a little higher, but prices held just a little above the $5 level. Weather-induced volatility will be the market feature near term. When we jump over and look at wheat during the week ending May 30, funds sold 7,058 contracts. Chicago wheat was a little higher for the week, but grain prices finished well above the worst levels of the week. Weekly chart is oversold. Some strength in row crops can help wheat here. We'll also have a little more in a minute on Chinese wheat that could influence U.S. wheat prices. When we look at cotton during the week ending May 30, funds sold just a little over 6,200 contracts. Old crop cotton was higher for the week as range-bound action continues. The struggles in China and COVID continue, and that's what's keeping our prices capped. New crop also moved higher for the week. When we look at soybeans during the week ending May 3rd, funds sold almost 6,300 contracts. Old crop beans were higher for the week, building on the gains from last week, leaving the $13 level as solid support. New crop futures were a little changed for the week, but prices rallied sharply off the lows and finished near the highest levels of the week. Live cattle during the week ending May 30, funds bought 5,164 contracts. August live cattle were sharply higher for the week as cash moved up noticeably from Texas to Nebraska. While choice cutouts were steadily higher around 305 hundredweight, cash and dress prices were seen $5 to $10 higher, which is supportive to futures. Feeder cattle during the week ending May 3rd, funds brought 1,381 contracts. August feeder cattle also moved higher as the entire beef market continues to march higher. When we look at lean hogs during the week ending May 30, funds sold 3,741 contracts. July hogs reversed last week's steep losses as a mix of funds short covering, oversold, technical, and strong cattle market combined. Cash hogs are showing some improvement, and this can lend some support. When we look down south in Argentina, heavy showers improved wintergreen prospects in eastern production areas, although the intensity of storms resulted in additional fieldwork delays. According to the government of Argentina, corn was 40% harvested as of May 24 versus 48% last year, while beans are 81% harvested versus 91% last year. Cotton was 39% harvested compared to 49% last year. Winter grain planting reportedly underway in major production areas. When we look at Brazil, dry weather dominated nearly all major farming areas, spurring late summer crop growth and supporting seasonal field work. Measurable rainfall was confined to the far southwestern farming area and along the northeastern coast. Abundant sunshine and warmth prompted rapid growth of corn and cotton in central and northeastern Brazil. Further south, conditions favored harvesting of sugarcane, coffee, and other specialty crops. Although the dry weather was overall favorable for Brazil's more northerly farming areas, additional rainfall will be needed for immature crops in Parana, where, according to government reports, 78% of the fully planted second corn crop had reached flowering as of May 22nd. Let's look at China next. In a report from Grain Marketing and Other Stuff morning YouTube video by Joe Vaklovic with Standard Grain, it says heavy rains are endangering China's wheat crop. Heavy rains have caused flooding in ripe wheat fields across China's most important growing region. In hopes of salvaging the crop, China's Ag Ministry is urging local authorities to send emergency teams to speed up the harvest and drying of the damaged grain. Over the past 10 days as harvest began, some areas received excessive rains of up to 400% of yearly rainfall. As wheat begins to sprout due to the rain, the Ag Ministry is urging buyers to purchase sprouted wheat for feed or industrial purposes. China, the world's largest wheat grower, was expecting a bumper crop of wheat this year. We're going to keep an eye on the wheat markets and see if they react after hearing this news this week. And on another note, Brazilian soybeans are headed for the U.S., according to Joe at Standard Grain. Purdue Farms and ADM recently purchased 178,000 tons of soybeans from Brazil. This sale is the largest since 2014, and according to analysts, we're looking at a big cost difference here, about $1.09 per bushel cheaper than what they can buy in the U.S. I don't like the looks of this, but that's what the East Coast crushers are doing, and I sure wish we could be in a position where they would support U.S. farmers on every purchase, not just when it was convenient for their profit margins. This week, we're going to take a look back in time and talk about Vulcan plows. Back in the winter, a good friend of mine, Mr. John Melvin, he's the main man at Marlowe Farms down in Clarkton. He called and told me he had something for me and to stop by the shop one day. Well, as would have it, time got away from both of us, and we didn't get together until sometime in early May. What he had for me were two old plows. He found them in a barn at a new farm they had acquired last year. They're in good shape and will be a fun project for me as I restored them maybe this summer or sometime this fall. One's a middle buster and the other's a breaking plow. Middle buster is in the best shape. Hadn't been used much, and you can clearly see the Vulcan plow logo on the steel. Being his mule plows were gone long before I began my career in agriculture, I had to do some research on the Vulcan Plow Company. Originally, it was called Hillman Plow Works, founded in 1847 by U.S. Congressman and German immigrant Mr. William Hillman. It was renamed Vulcan Plow Works in 1890. During this time, they were in Evansville, Indiana. Vulcan was a leading manufacturer for various farming equipment items in the Ohio Valley. They later merged with three other companies in Illinois and Ohio to form Farm Tool Incorporated, but by the 1950s they were out of business. During their heyday, they were known for their chilled plows. And you ask, what is a chilled plow? Well, it's a manufacturing process for soil contacting points such as the share and the mold board portion of the plow. When molten iron was poured into the mold, the plate drew off the heat in the part of the casting adjacent to it more rapidly than the rest of the casting due to the rapid cooling. The chilled surfaces of the resulting cast iron parts were hard enough to take a good shine and wear well, while the rest of the casting, which has been more slowly cooled, was soft enough to resist sudden shock of striking obstructions like rocks or large roots. During the mid-1800s, when steel was scarce and expensive, many plows were made of cast iron. Cast iron is relatively soft and wore rapidly under abrasive action of the soil. If hardened with these common methods in the mid-1800s, the iron became brittle and broke easily when striking rocks and roots. The process used by Vulcan was state-of-the-art in its time and created a huge market of customers for them. You can see the ad for their chilled plows at the bottom right of your screen in red and tan. Vulcan was a Roman god of fire. His statue stood atop the plow building for many years. Over the years, it's been located a few times, as now it's housed in the Vanderburgh County Museum in Evansville. The statue's in a few of the pictures on the left side of the screen. In my research, I was able to find a copy of one of the last catalogs produced by Vulcan. It was dated September 15, 1950. A Vulcan shield plow with a steel beam 10N had a retail cost of $29.40. A middle buster breaker plow model 110X with a steel mold and a 1-point chilled point had a retail cost of $28.90. I'm surprised by the low prices they bring on auctions. The plow on the right side of the screen just above the chilled plow advertisement only brought $17 on an auction in March of 2023. I'll have more than that in paint and sanding when I redo the two that John gave me. While riding the plows around in the back of my truck on the day I picked them up, I stopped with another customer and friend, Mr. Michael Autry over in Sampson County. He told me a story about plows and lawnmowers. He said when he was younger, his dad hooked a plow to their lawnmower. Young Michael grabbed the plow handle and his dad took off on the mower. His dad yelled, "Pick it up a little," meaning he was plowing too deep. Michael, following his dad's instructions, lifted the plow handles. This resulted in the plow diving deep and almost flipping his dad off the lawnmower. Rule of thumb when plowing: if you lift the handles, the plow goes deeper. If you push down on the handles, the plow goes shallower. I laughed all afternoon after hearing this story. I would pay good money to have been a spectator that day. That's what I love about agriculture. Ag people still tell stories from long ago. They help keep history alive. If you're an old timer or soon to be an old timer like me, I sure hope you tell stories of your past to the younger generations so they don't lose them over time. And I sure hope this younger generation is taking note of what's going on today. I'm sure they are, but they do it just a little different way than us old timers. Mental notes have now turned into TikTok videos. Hopefully, these videos will last as long as the old timer tales that were told at the old country stores for so many generations. One day I'll post some before and after pictures of the plows that John gave me. Then, years from now, someone will share that story of how they ended up in the possession of Old Man Wood. I hope you've enjoyed this look back in time. Give me a call or shoot me an email if you have some old stories or history you want to share that are related to agriculture in eastern North Carolina. I'd love to share it here on In the Loop Weekend Ag Talk. As always, thank you for tuning in and thank you to our farmers who help feed and clothe the world. Remember, make mental health a priority at your home and your operation. Make time for yourself, make time for those around you. Y'all have a good weekend. Get out and support these local softball teams if you can. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.